Howdy, guys, and welcome back to the Five Guys Podcast. I'm Dom, he is Chris, and today we'll be recapping Monday's episode of the part 2 episode. It's kind of like a recap of Monday's episode of a part 2 from the previous Monday's episode. Kind of very nuanced, very crazy like that. But yeah, we're going to be talking about our top 4 picks of last week's cognitive biases.
Yep.
Everything that you're kind of getting sold on that you might not be knowing, you might not be realizing you're getting sold on. So let's get right into it. I have 2, you have 2. You want to get yours first?
Sure. Yeah. And the reason I use this, Munger, when he talked about this, he said the reason that he wants to study cognitive biases is he doesn't want to be a patsy. And what a patsy is like the fall guy or the person, or like that's the mark, as it would be if you're running a scam. The patsy is the mark. That's the person we're running the scam on. So he says by studying these 25 biases, which we went over in part 1 and part 2 of this podcast, and now this is the recap for that. He wants to understand these. So when someone's trying to make him the patsy, he can realize, oh, you're using this bias and this bias and this bias. Good on you. It's not going to fall for it, but good on you. I see what you're doing there. So the first one that I want to talk about is the contrast misreaction tendency. And really what this means is that our misunderstanding of the world often comes from comparison to others, in comparison to other things, because we can't judge if something is good or bad unless we judge it against something else.
True. That's true. How you measure anything, I guess. Because if you measure it based on flawed perspective, then everything else, your whole thing is going to be flawed.
Yep. Or if you're someone who lives in America and you're saying like, oh, my life sucks so much. Like every time I go on, I watch TV, like everyone looks like living such a happy life. But in reality, if you live in America and you're born in this year, or you live in America in this decade, and you have $35,000 a year that you're making, you're in the top 1% of the world. And if you're not thinking about that, if you're looking at, oh, I'm only comparing myself to people above me, then yeah, you're going to have a pretty miserable life. But if we take it holistically, and that's why I always say, compare yourself to who you were rather than comparing yourself to other people. Am I better than I was? And that's why whenever we have a lot of viewer mailbags of people writing in who have done amazing things. I think just last week, we had someone, or 2 weeks ago, we had someone that wrote in that grew up like barely making it. Their mom had to work 2 jobs to barely make it. And now they live in their own house. They have a family. They're working a great sales job, but they still feel like they're in that situation. And rather than comparing themselves to other people, I need them to compare themselves to who they were yesterday. And who they were yesterday was someone who was barely making it. And now there's someone who's doing really well. So the comment I always like for this is, nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
Nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. I like that.
Have I ever told you about the Harlow monkey experiment with the cucumber and the grape?
Yes.
So
my pick is, I'm just kidding. Yeah, what for the viewers, for the people.
For the people, you guys have heard this one before. Basically, if you give a monkey a cucumber, they're happy with a cucumber, but they really like grapes because grapes are better than cucumbers objectively. So if you give one monkey a grape or a cucumber and you give the next monkey a cucumber, both the monkeys are happy. But the moment you give one monkey a cucumber, he's happy. Then you give the other monkey a grape, the monkey that got a cucumber loses their shit. And the reason they lose their shit isn't because of anything, but because that isn't fair anymore. Because I'm contrasting what I got to what they got. And maybe it's a different situation. And unfortunately, we do this all through life. We contrast our lives with other people's lives, but we're not willing to look at all the things they had to sacrifice to have their life.
Interesting. Tell you, man, those monkeys are providing great insights. Yeah. I don't know why they would even give them a cucumber. Doesn't make sense. Grapes are clearly superior. Everybody knows that.
Grapes are
green grapes superior. Or purple grapes?
Oh, green grapes.
You say green grapes?
Yeah.
All right, whatever. All right, so
whatever, you're wrong.
Whatever, you're wrong. Totally biased. Social proof. I'm about to bring that up.
Everyone likes purple grapes.
Everybody loves purple grapes. Yeah, yeah, and they have to be like really like
hard.
They can't be soft. Yeah, they have to be hard.
I want them like hard. I want them tart and like hard as hell.
Dude, you're such a masochist, dude. You're crazy for that. You like sour things? Oh, I hate sour things. Do you like spicy things?
Love spicy things.
Yeah, I was totally opposite.
This weekend when we were in Pittsburgh,
yeah,
or I guess last week, 2 weekends ago when we were in Pittsburgh, I had the hottest chicken sandwich I've ever had in my life. It was like a Tennessee style like hot chicken sandwich. It was so hot I couldn't eat it. And I always finished my food. I couldn't eat it. I was like crying. I was legitimately sweating in the restaurant. And I was like, I was afraid more. I even had to go get a fork and knife and try to cut it. I put ketchup on it. I tried everything that I could to be able to eat this thing, and I couldn't.
Dude, I wish I was there for that.
It kicked my ass.
Dude, I wish I was there for that. Respectfully, like, that's crazy. Because I know you're all about, like, you're like, in my thought process, like, you could do anything because your mind is strong. That must have been one hell of a sandwich.
Yeah, it was the hottest one they had, and I was like, "How hot is it?" She's like, "It's pretty hot," and I'm like, "You don't know what you're talking about. I'll take it." And so my wife was like, because my wife was with me, she's like, "I've never seen you tap out on hot food," and I was like, "I've never tapped out on hot food like that. That won. Like it beat
Do you know like what it was on the Scoville level?
Oh, no idea. The way they looked at it was like medium, which my wife got the like not hot at all, and she says it was too spicy. And then the one that I got was called damn hot, and it was damn hot.
It was damn hot. Damn.
I was like eating ketchup packets. Like I was like trying to do anything to like make it go away.
Do anything. That's awesome. So my first pick is of the 2024 best biases of part 2 episode draft.
Everyone loves.
Everyone loves. Yep. With my first pick, I will choose bias number 15. Ironically, that is my lucky number. Has no relation though. Social proof tendency. Basically, sheep mentality. Basically. I love the analogy you gave. I love the story you gave last podcast about how they went out into New York, right? They got one person to look up in the sky as a tourist would do, right? They look at the tall buildings and take a picture, right? I'm done. I'm done. But they got 10 people together, all looking up at the sky. And what happened? More people joining, more people joining, more people joining. They want to see what are they all looking at? What are these people looking at? And it's just 100% sheep mentality. And I'm not going to lie. I shan't lie. Yeah. Who's that person who says I can't tell a lie? I think it was like Abraham Lincoln or something like that.
Yeah. No.
Honest Dave.
Yeah.
Honest Dave. Yep. Bro, I can't tell a lie. Knowing this bias, I would still look up in the sky because I'm just curious. I'm a curious guy, right? And if curiosity is going to kill this cat, then so be it. But yeah, I mean, the social proof tendency happens every day. Like, you should subscribe to this podcast because, you know, honestly, everybody is subscribing to this podcast. We're blowing up on every single platform and it's going worldwide. We're getting people from all around the world. Everybody's joining. And that's why I honestly am like, if I don't want to leave you guys out. So that's why you should subscribe, right? So right there, that's an example of social proof. And it's not even a lie.
That's all facts, son. That's all facts.
Like, that's not even being like a con man. Like, that's legitimate numbers. That's real business, real talk. You know, you don't want to get left out. So yeah, I would definitely subscribe. I get messages almost every day, all around the world. Love the podcast.
You know what? We're actually doing really well in Australia.
Like, I know. Isn't that weird?
I don't get it, but
I don't get it either.
Hello down under.
Yep. I have some viewers over on my channel, and they'll tell me, they're like, we love the podcast. I'm like, really? They're like, we love it. I'm like, that's cool. So some of them are from Canada, some of America, some over in UK. That's kind of
cool.
That's kind of gnarly, dude.
If we can visit you at your house and stay with you, we'll record a podcast from your house and just let us know. We'll fly to your house and we'll stay with you for like a week, maybe 2 weeks, depending on what country you're in and what city you're in that country.
Yep. Yeah, we need a detailed itinerary too.
Yeah, I need a detailed itinerary. Like, I will go to Melbourne. I will go to Sydney. If you're in like the backwoods place though, I'm good on your that. Your spiders terrify me.
I'm good on that. Yeah. You know, I read somewhere that Australia has more snow in their mountains than the French Alps.
I could see it.
Yeah. Dude, I've seen some photos of their coastline, like in the northeastern part. It's literally like something out of them. It's like the Bahamas.
Yeah, my wife and I are planning a trip for 2026. Because next year is going to be Africa, 2026 will be Australia, will be the hope. Dude, it's crazy. Like, because when you think about like Australia, like you just think of like a desert. Like that's just what you think of because that's all you see. But even if you think of when people think of like America from outside of America, they think of maybe Mount Rushmore or the California
New York
coastline,
City,
but like New York City. But like think about how diverse America is to get through. The same thing when I went to Japan, I was like, oh, Japan's going to be like beautiful, like Zen garden, like all this shit. But like, no, it's completely different. Same when I go to Mexico. Whenever I travel, I'm like, this is the way I think it is. And I walk off the plane, I'm like, whoa. Even Phoenix. When I moved here to Phoenix, I thought it was going to be a desolate hellscape. which for 5 months out of the year, it is. But the other 7 months out of the year, it's beautiful, like mountainous, there's rivers and lakes and all this other stuff that if you just thought of Phoenix as a desert with a tumbleweed,
Snakes,
like a dead
rattlesnakes.
skull and a rat, you'd be partially correct. But there's also a lot of beauty here, which
Yeah.
you just don't know.
Yeah.
But back to social proof.
Sorry.
Very, very, very big. I mean, as we all know, like we have a tendency to automatically just think and act like other people do around us. And sometimes that's a good thing, but oftentimes that could be a bad thing. Have you ever seen like a riot take place, or like when the crowd turns and people just lose their mind? That's all social proof.
Yeah.
You know, mob mentality is social proof happening, that this is okay to do because everyone else is doing it. That's when like people start looting and all this shit goes down and things get wild. That's the reason I don't like going in groups of people, because I've seen it when I used to live in Long Beach, how quickly things can change.
You've been a part of a few riots, LA riots?
I have seen them. I have never been a part of them.
Okay, fair enough.
But yes, I used to live in some of those areas.
Gotcha. It sounds like a crazy time. Sounds like a crazy time. I thought you were going to be like, yeah, the TV in the living room, LA riots, 94.
Yeah, LA riots. Got it.
Got it.
I'm not talking about the Rodney King LA riots. I'm talking about the ones like...
Yeah, there's much more current riots. Like you can get new stuff now. Riots. Yeah, and they won't prosecute you.
You get brand new things.
Yeah, honestly, like I'm just waiting for, there's a sale and then there's a new thing called a fire sale. Right, I'm waiting on that fire sale. We're going to go down to the... Stop talking. I'm going to self-incriminate myself.
I'm not sure if it's true, but I heard a thing that like in different parts of LA and San Francisco that like they wouldn't make it illegal for you to steal under $900 worth of things. Like, I hope it's not real, but like if that's true, people can steal up to $900 or $899 worth of stuff. Like, what incentive do they have not to steal $899 worth of things?
Honestly, it doesn't even make any sense to me, because like I'm a good, like all the jokes I just made, those were just jokes. Like I'm not gonna go steal stuff, right? Because I'm a good person and I wouldn't last in jail. I'd get cooked. I would be done for it. Yeah, like what does that do to like the good people there? Like if you're a good person, you think it's like, wow, this company, this Verizon has been screwing me over for like 6 months. I'm gonna walk in, I'm just gonna take an iPad, take an iPhone. What are you gonna do? Prosecute me? I don't think so.
And not to mention, you like think about bias number one of like all this whole thing. It was incentive versus disincentive bias. And if you think about it, like if my disincentive is nothing and my incentive is I get an iPad, I'm gonna steal that iPad.
That iPad's coming home, buddy.
Yeah.
What are you gonna? What? The 18-year-old behind the desk is gonna stop me?
Yeah.
I'm 210 thick.
Speaking
you ain't
of
stopping
which,
nothing. I'm
look at this new iPad that I found. No, that I found at Best Buy. No.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. So what do you got for number 2 for your second pick?
For number 2, my second pick was the stress influence tendency, in which people act more erratically and extreme as their body is under more stress, as they're maybe going through adrenaline. And the thing I talked about that was when you're driving, and if someone cuts you off when you're walking, no big deal. I'm not going to die. But when you're driving, someone cuts you off, you lose your fucking mind, because your body is, even though you feel calm, your body is reacting as if I'm hurtling through space at 65 miles an hour, because you are hurtling through space at 65 miles an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can only equate it to, when I walked into that Verizon store, grabbed that iPad in California. I walked out. I'm like, this isn't like me. I gotta freaking book it, man. That stress influence tendency, man. It was had me going, baby. Got that iPad Pro with the pencil. Can't be stopped. That's a joke, guys. Don't go out and steal things. This is all for jokes, okay? This is all jokes. I don't want you to think that I'm actually like a criminal just on the like I'm not a criminal, but it's funny. Because then I gotta do anything about like there's so much crime over there that it's like, what are you gonna do? Call the police? 2-hour response time? Yeah, come on.
But I think about your thing is really funny. But like when I was talking earlier about looting, like the stress influence tendency and social proof are working together to make things worse, right? Because you see other people doing it, and if you're looting and like shit's going down, your adrenaline's up, and now you're gonna make worse decisions because your adrenaline's up. And I've done this before because I still do. No, I've never looted. Okay. But like I still do jiu-jitsu and I still compete. And like the decisions I make on the days that I'm going to be competing are probably worse decisions than if I'm not competing, because my adrenaline's up, because I know later on today I'm going to have to fight somebody. And like it's scary. And I probably make worse decisions on those days. So I try to avoid those decisions.
Interesting. That's so interesting. Yeah. Yeah. My decisions are worse on this day because hey, at 2 o'clock I gotta go fight someone.
You know,
What a sentence.
it's very, very true though. Like if you think about like how many times we confuse body language, and people do this a lot when it comes to like dating apps and stuff. That's the reason, like if you want to go on a first date and you're like trying to figure out, do something active, because people
Mhm.
often can't realize that their body is telling them something, even though their mind's telling them something different. So if you go on a first date, you guys go on a hike and you're working hard and you're breathing hard and you're flushed and your heart's racing. Well, that's the same feeling that you feel when you're in lust with somebody. So maybe some people will go, oh man, I must really like this person because I'm feeling all the feelings that I would if I'm liking somebody, without realizing that the reason that I'm feeling that is because I'm on a fucking hike, walking up a mountain. So you can start to, you can realize how to do these things, how to play tricks on people in order to benefit yourself or benefit them. Hopefully you're a good person and that's the reason you're deserving of a good date. But you know, you do you.
Yeah. Yeah. Be cautious out there, ladies. Please. Ah, man. Yeah. Honestly, you got to know the techniques of the mind in order to know when you're being manipulated and when you're not being manipulated. It's so true. It's so true. Like you just can't live with your head in the sand anymore. I feel like that time has gone.
Yeah. And maybe that's the reason that so many people like hook up and make bad decisions. Cause like when you go into a club and it's loud and it's fucking wild and like it's just induces stress. And now everyone seems more attractive because you start to misread those. I'm just thinking out loud right now.
Or not
But
stress, adrenaline.
adrenaline,
Yeah.
which is stress. Like, it's the same thing. And now everyone starts to become more attractive. Like, I don't know, maybe that could be a thing.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Could be.
Could be.
With my fourth pick of the 2024 draft, I'm going with bias number 19, use it or lose it tendency. Excuse me. Use it or lose it tendency. So what you don't use, you lose. You lose your skills if you don't use them. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. How can we go more in depth with this one?
Well, I think that's the reason we do Five Friday feedback. That's why our listeners are here listening to us right now. If you don't use the things we're teaching you in your life, you're never going to keep them. And the best way to learn something is through repetition, I find. So rather than us telling you, listen to Monday's podcast 4 times again and again and again, just listen to us talk about it again in a different, unique way. We're going to talk about more philosophy, more psychology, more Star Wars, more of Dominic's looting ideas for California only. You know, we only talk about those things so that people can hopefully begin to implement this into their life and not just take it and be like, okay, that sounds good. But once you start to implement these things in your life, so like, how can I work with this every single day? We're going to start to see that our skills get better.
Yep.
You know, it's the same thing. Again, I'm going to bring it back to jujitsu. If I only went to jujitsu once a week, I would not be very good at it. The reason I'm pretty good at it is because I go 4 to 5 times a week. And I could probably be even better at it if I walked down the street every single day trying to fight people. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. But if that was like the way that you looked at life, if you're like someone who maybe grew up in like the inner city and like you found some form of like martial arts as a kid, and like you knew if I don't learn this martial arts, I'm going to get beat up. You're probably going to be a way stronger martial artist because it's poignant and you're using it every day. And even when you're not using it, you're thinking about using it. Because what happens in this situation? What would I do in this situation? And you're constantly rehearsing it in your head, rehearsing. Did you know that a lot of sports athletes, when they get injured, they'll go to a sports psychologist, and the sports psychologist, like while they physically can't do things, will have them just work through it in their brain. So, like if you're a pitcher, you're going to envision holding it in your glove, grabbing the ball, envision, feel what it's like to do all these things. And in truth, your brain doesn't know when your body isn't doing something. It still thinks it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a weird way of explaining this to you, which is this. Your brain is encased in your head. Your brain it never sees light. It never hears sounds. It never touches anything. It's all inputs that's put into it. So let's try an experiment together.
Okay.
I want you to imagine going down to your kitchen right now, grabbing a beautiful lemon out of it. We're going to grab that lemon and we're going to roll it out and get all those juices flowing back and forth. I want you to take a sharp knife, cut the lemon in half. You're going to look at that and some of it leaks on top of the floor. We're going to take the knife. We're going to cut that lemon wedge in half again. Now we're going to take that quarter of a lemon wedge and stick it in your mouth. Are you salivating?
Oh, but yeah.
Your brain did not know that that wasn't happening. Because your brain perceives color, perceives light, perceives sound, perceives touch, but your brain is encased in your skull. It never sees any of those things.
Interesting.
I don't know how we got down that rabbit hole with use it or lose it tendency, but this is where my brain goes on the average daily. This is what I think about all day. It's messed up to be in this brain. You don't want to be a part of it, but it creates some weird conversations.
Oh, that's really good. That's pretty solid. Oh, we got here, but we're here. So yeah, those are. Did you do your fourth pick? Yeah, you did.
I did. Yeah,
I think okay. Okay, there we go.
But,
so
yeah, I mean, please, guys, go back and listen to all the cognitive biases for part 1 and part 2 because we will cover 25 different biases. You know, I use these every single day, not only to manipulate people, which I love doing, but more importantly, making sure that people don't manipulate me and make sure that I don't manipulate myself. Because the easiest person in the world to trick is you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that you're easy. If you're listening, you're not an easy person. You are able to trick yourself the easiest.
Yeah.
And, you know, Dominic, if you don't mind, I want to tell about when we were talking a few weeks ago and you were telling me like you're having a lot of trouble waking up in the morning and like kind of sticking to your thing. And I was telling you at the end of the day, when you wake up, when that alarm goes off, you have a little lawyer in your head and that little lawyer knows every single reason why you should stay in bed 5 more minutes, why you should press that snooze button, you know, why you should just stay in bed. And the effed up thing is that little lawyer is probably right on a lot of those reasons. At some point, you have to tell your frontal brain, your system 2 brain has to say, yes, lawyer, you're right on all accounts. And I'm still going to do what you don't want me to do. Yep. That's why you're the easiest person to trick. And that's also why, by understanding these biases, you can start to get away from it. The bias that we feel when our alarm clock goes off is, I don't really want to get out of this bed. It feels comfortable. And it is easier to stay in bed. It is calorically less strenuous to stay in bed than it is to get up. At the end of the day, we have to get up. Human beings were designed to walk uphill. Mm-hmm. We were designed to grow. We were designed to keep on striving and get better, not to stay in bed all day, even though it feels so good.
I'm telling you, they're making beds too comfy these days.
I know.
It's dude, Chris is the type of guy to literally like, be like, you know what? I'm living too comfortably and I'm just going to sleep out. I'm going to sleep outside. I'm going to sleep on the ground. Like, I could see it. Well,
there was a Stoic philosopher, Cato, who every month would go and live would leave his palace and go and live on the streets for like a week, just to remind himself that like, this is what you're most scared of, like, which is pretty badass, I think. Like this is what you're afraid of. You're afraid of losing all of this, and this would be your life. When he would just go and do it to himself, which I think is pretty cool.
That's gutsy.
I'm not going to do it, but I think that's really cool. Good for Cato.
I'm not going to do that. Screw that, dude. You can keep that in the book. I'm not doing that.
You know, maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's the reason that people like I love going camping. Maybe that's the reason I like going camping so much is because it simplifies everything. When you go camp, okay. So let's think about this. Yeah. If you walk into my house and I gave you a piece of bread, a piece of cheese, and a piece of bologna, and I said, "Here's your lunch," you'd be like, "Chris, fuck you." But if we were camping and I gave you a piece of bread, a piece of bologna, and a piece of cheese, you'd be like, this is the best sandwich I've ever had in my life. Because now we're starting to compare it to what could it be? It could be either I'm eat this bologna sandwich or that pine cone versus I'm eat this bologna sandwich or everything else in the world. So comparison, man.
Telling you, dude, that's awesome. That's why you should never give your dog table scraps.
That's why I don't give my dog.
He'll never forgive you. He will hate you.
Yeah.
But what is this? That's stale chow food. I don't want this. I want the good stuff.
The contrast principle.
Yeah. Just screwing your dog. I'm telling you. My grandma's dog, I love my grandma when she was alive, man. She had these 2 little dogs. They basically, like 80% of their diet was just table scraps. And we were just
so bad.
Oh, yeah. But it's like, you're a little old grandma. Like, what are you going to do? Like,
so
it's like, grandma, you can't do that.
My parents are so bad with the family dogs and like how so when my dogs go over, Leon, Lana, and Call, it's like I have to tell my parents multiple times they cannot get real food. Like they only get the food that they get. And yes, like I'm kind of a Nazi when it comes to this because I know what's going to happen if I don't. We had a dog, his name was Maximus, who was so spoiled that he liked carrots at first. Like you gave him a carrot, he loved the carrot. Eventually my sister gave him a carrot with ranch on it. And then since that day, he would never eat another carrot unless you dipped it in ranch.
Little brat.
I know.
Little brat.
He's dead now, but God.
He didn't eat his carrots. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. We weren't going to do the ranch thing. He had his chance. Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's hilarious, though. That's so funny. Yeah, you got to be careful what you share. Got to be careful. Their expectancy, their tolerance.
Yep.
Goes through the roof.
That's why it's so hard with like counter surfing. If you have a dog that can jump up and grab stuff, like one of my dogs can jump up and grab stuff, and like that like her getting in trouble, like she already got the reward. She got whatever she got, and like yeah, I might be able to come and like give her pow pows, put her in timeout, but like she doesn't care. She just got what she wanted.
Yeah.
Anything you do to her afterwards doesn't matter.
No.
That's why it's so tough. And now she's like, oh, normal kibble. I took your steak last night, and I would like that.
Dude, I would be. Oh, that would make me so sad. That made me so mad. I'm not even mad. I'd just be like, I got played by the dog. Took my steak.
I've been trying to be better with the dogs because when I have a kid, I have this thought of like babies are just little humans.
Yeah.
And like if you talk to a baby like they're a
babies
human being,
are
like,
just little humans. Yes,
yeah,
that is true.
So just talk to them like they're human. Like, hey, I'm going to be putting you down now. It's time to get changed. Time for bed. And like I think most people don't do that. They just like they expect the baby doesn't know. So I've been practicing with my dogs a lot. So when my dogs do bad things or when I need them to do things, I talk to them as if they're a human and they can understand me. And what I've noticed, and this is kind of weird, but I've noticed that they actually respond a lot better when I do that than me like yelling like don't do that or like freaking out when I say like, hey, we don't do that because of this. And I think they obviously don't understand English, but what they may understand is they're picking up on my energy and the things that I'm saying. And since I'm actually saying like, hey, this is the reason we don't do these things, I'm putting out the energy of I don't want you to do these things rather than me just screaming or saying nothing, Now I'm putting out like negative energy. So I've been working on that a lot.
That's
so
cool.
That when I have kids, I can hopefully I'll just continue to flow and I'll just talk to my kid as if they're a little human, which obviously they are.
Yeah. Just don't show them the ranch though. Don't let them just carrots only.
No, they just get straight carrots. You don't get ranch carrots.
No sauce. No sauce. Yeah. That's awesome.
When you're an adult, you can buy your own ranch.
You can buy it. You can live your own life. You can 18. You can get out. Till then,
you just get ranch. Pancakes. No, sir.
That's cruel. Dude, that's evil right there. Well, I think with that being said, we're going to get on to Friday feedback, viewer mailbag. It's that time of the week. My favorite time of the week. I will say, though, that first half got me going. That was very fun. That was a lot of fun.
I really like the thought of you running into a Walmart, just stealing shit and being like,
dude,
social proof.
Social proof. Knowing me, though, I'd run in, I'd steal all the steaks. I'd steal like the chuck. I wouldn't even steal anything like lasting. Like I could steal a TV, but like I'm not gonna get that far. I could carry like 10 steaks. Dude, that'd be sick. That's
I'll see you running down the street with just Pop-Tarts.
Like, I've never had a Pop-Tart before.
Really?
Never had one.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, kind of weird, right? Like you would like I have the personality for a Pop-Tart.
Oh yeah, you definitely seem like a Pop-Tart man.
Yeah, never had one. Yeah,
interesting.
I don't want to start now. They're just too unhealthy. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going for the steaks, man. Going for the steaks. Alrighty. So back to Friday feedback, viewer mailbag. It has been a doozy of a podcast today. We talked about looting, social proof. We talked about stress influence, riots, more riots. We talked about contrast, misreaction tendency.
Yeah, the only thing we didn't talk about was Cocaine Kenny. But if you don't know what that is, go back to Monday's episode because we talked about cocaine for about 15 minutes.
Yep,
which was pretty funny.
It was really funny, honestly. It's changed the way I've seen a lot. It changed the way I've seen a lot of things. I haven't been the same man since.
Yeah,
it's not drug related. It's not drug related. It's just mindset related. It's not cocaine. It's the story behind the Cocaine Kenny. Anyway, yeah, you guys got to go back and listen to that podcast. It's probably one of our most unhinged podcasts yet, but this one's actually pretty close.
For a Monday pod, I think we're just going to become more and more unhinged as we go down the rabbit hole. We're 100%. Becoming podcast bros, and this is what podcast bros do. We just need to start spouting fake science and nonsense, and we're gonna become in the history books, bro.
Basically,
let's do it
in the bro book.
2-5 Friday feedback, viewer mailbag. Dominic, you kick us off.
How much money I saved living in my car for the first 6 months of 2024? Interesting.
Okay.
Is this the philosopher you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, this is Cato.
This is Cato. Cato, very nice. So, howdy, Fi Guys, howdy. Since August 2023, I've embarked on a journey that many might find unconventional, but has proven to be incredibly enriching for me. Living out of my car was a choice driven. I don't know if he meant to do that pun, but I like it. Living out of my car was a choice driven by desire for financial freedom and has exceeded my expectations in every single way possible. Okay,
You know,
okay.
the last two viewer mailbags have really gone in a different direction than I expected them to. And I love that.
They really have, dude. They really have.
You're finding the good ones, Dom.
Dude, we're locking in this week, dude. Alrighty. So my decision to simplify my living situation was primarily financial, as it would make sense. I wanted to break free from the cycle of paycheck to paycheck living, and living in my car has allowed me to do just that. Far from feeling constrained, I've discovered that a life of abundance where financial stress and anxiety are things of the past. A significant part of my motivation came from listening to the Five Guys podcast. I appreciate that. I do. Woo, 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 woo.
I don't know how I feel about the message that someone thought that we were telling them to live in a car in order to.
I mean, you were cheering 2 seconds ago, but I agree.
I thought about it.
Yeah.
I thought about it slightly farther. It's okay. Let's keep going.
You know, but again, hold on. I've read this story a little bit, and it's a good story. It's a good story. I swear. So,
okay.
Which has opened up my eyes to new perspectives on financial independence and intentional living. That sounds like us. Us. Your insights have helped me realize that living simply could lead to a richer and more fulfilling life. Very Buddhist of you.
Okay, I'm good. I feel good about that.
Yeah, we're solid on that. Tracking every expense and income meticulously throughout 2024 has been eye-opening to say the least. In the first 6 months alone, my total expenses amounted to $7,791, averaging less
Dude,
right?
Your cost of living is so low.
Averaging less than $1,300 per month. This frugality has enabled me to save nearly $19,000 over the same period. Setting aside almost $3,200 a month, this level of savings would have been unthinkable in my previous circumstance. Not bad. Living rent-free out of my car has not only been financially liberating, but also had a profound effect on my mental and physical well-being. I found peace and contentment in a lifestyle that many perceive as bleak. But for me, it's been quite the opposite. An exhilarating and cost-effective way to live, really. This journey has taught me that abundance isn't measured by possessions or conventional living standards. It's about reclaiming control over one's finances, lives, and choices. Living in my car has been a monumental step towards realizing that life is filled with financial security and personal fulfillment. The proof is quite literally lies in the substantial savings I've accumulated. With gratitude and new clarity, from in my car I've come so far, for with no rent to pay, my savings slay.
Boom.
I like that.
That was a good one.
I like that. Dude, I'm telling you, maybe we just let's go live in the car. Let's run it up. Telling you, I wouldn't mind a little camping trip. Could be cool.
You know, when I was a kid and my parents, you know, when you're a kid, you're like, I'm running away and I'm never going to come back. And me and my sister, we would go into our garage and then sleep inside the car.
That's awesome.
And it was so much fun. It was like camping.
It is a lot of fun.
You know, the way I think about this when I'm reading this is, we talked about it earlier. It's all about the contrast and like who you're comparing yourself to. So if you're someone who's living in a car, remember like back in the day where it's like, if you don't go to school, get a college degree, like you're going to be in a van down by the creek. Yeah. And now with van life, it's like living in a van down by the creek is like an aspiration.
Dude, that's the goal.
That's the goal. Like if I could have a van and live down by the creek and not work, that's the goal. And this guy's fucking done it. Like, and I do want to preface this. Mm-hmm. Personal finance is personal.
Yep.
If you're someone listening to this, you're like, that's the stupidest thing in the world. That's why I was kind of worried at the beginning. Like, I don't want to be the person telling people you have to cut out the coffee, you have to cut out eating, you have to do all these things.
Yep.
No, like that's not me. You do whatever brings you the most happiness in this life. But also you have to find that balance. And we talked a lot about, I think it was episode 34, we talked about minimalism. And I think that maybe he's referencing that podcast in specific in this one. And also the podcast on, what was it? Your Money or Your Life, I think it was the one we talked about, or Die with Zero. We talked about Die with Zero. He's probably talking about both those two. And I mean, that's so cool. You guys average down to $1,300 a month. He's saving $20,000 a year. And I don't know how old he is, but depending on his age, he might be able to save enough money to be Coast-Fi. And Coast financial independence means you have enough money in your accounts, and we just apply the rule of 72 to it. And we can say, like, I don't know, if I have $100,000 when I'm 30 years old and I don't retire until I'm 65, or let's say 70, well, that's 100 goes to 200 by the time we're 40, 200 goes to 400 by the time we're 50, 500 goes to $1 million by the time we're 60, 1 million goes to $2 million by the time we're 70. And that's only with an average rated compound of 10% or 7%. So he might be able to set himself up for that. But I also want to preface you with, also be careful on this frugality thing. Don't think that living frugally makes you a good person, because ultimately at some point things are going to change. Maybe you're going to meet a nice partner and you're going to want to move in with them. And if you're the person saying, like, no, I live in my car, you can move in with my car with me. You can recline the driver's seat. I'll recline the passenger seat. It'll be all well and good. It might not work so well. So life is a balance of all times. Right now you're in a cool season, a season that, while I don't want to live that season that you're in, I respect you for living it. And I think that's super cool. When there was a time in my life where I could have definitely lived like van life, and boy, I will tell you, I was very close. When I was working my sales job and I hated life, I was so into van life because I just wanted the escape. And now that I live a great life of abundance, like, I don't want to go back to that. Do I still want a van? Like, yeah, every time I see like a badass, like Ram Pro Master or Ford Transit or a Sprinter, I see them, I'm like, that's so cool.
Dude,
that's the coolest thing.
It's so
cool. I see them all the time.
It's so cool.
It's so cool.
It's so freaking cool. Like, what I would give, dude. What I would freaking give. Oh man.
Yeah. If someone gave me like just money and they're like, you can go and blow this on anything outside of buying like a property or like an investment, I would, if they said they need to blow on something that's like stupid, I would definitely blow it on that. But then again, I wouldn't want to live in that all the time.
No,
because I have a pretty great life now.
Yeah.
But there was a time where I was like, I'll take all of it. I'll move to Yosemite and I'll just become a bum and it'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, the shackles we create ourselves willingly. The trade-off, right? You get a girlfriend. Well, now I can't do van life every weekend. You get a wife. She wants to cuddle. Well, we can cuddle in the back of the van. I don't know. You got to find someone. It's weird because oftentimes when we find someone, it's usually opposites attract. Just join me in the van life, huh? Just join. Yeah. Just join.
Maybe you can find a van life lady, Dom, and you guys can live in your van down by the creek.
Wish there was water over here.
I know, right? There's no creek. Yeah, down by Lake Pleasant.
Yeah.
We did a 5 Friday feedback viewer mailbag where someone talked about their parents moving from the Philippines here to America, and they only had like $300,000 to do it. And I remember saying, like, in the Philippines, $300,000 is like, that's a really good living. And someone put in the comments, like, so you're telling me with my $300,000 I have in America, I can move to the Philippines right now and live a pretty good life? And I never responded to that person, but in truth, yes, you could. But remember the constraints you have. Now you're no longer in America. Your family is still going to be here. Like, yes, you may be able to no longer have to work, but think about all that you're giving up. Because a lot of us, we think of on the day that I get to live down in the creek by the van, it's going to all be good. I'm not going to have to work anymore. But now your life is filled with new issues like, well, where do I shower? Where am I going to cook my food? Where am I going to do all these things? And yes, there are answers to all this. You can always get a freaking subscription to Planet Fitness and go and shower and work out. And I'm sure that's what this guy does. Like, there's always ways around that. But just because you fix one problem, you also create a new problem. Same thing with, I wish I was Jeff Bezos. I wish I was Elon Musk. I wish I had all that money. Yes, you solved the money problem, but now you have infinitely more problems. And I'm not saying that the money problem isn't bad, because money problems are really bad money problems. But money issues are only fixed, or what? More money only fixes money problems. It doesn't fix all your problems.
Yeah. God, isn't that the truth? Well, yeah, I mean, that's congratulations though on saving up that money. Congratulations on finding yourself more. I think it's very important for all young people to find themselves, all people in general, to find themselves. And I don't want to say you're living the dream, but you're living a very good chapter.
You're living your dream.
Yeah, you're living your dream.
And that's what's super cool. I think the biggest thing that I'm getting from this is, once you've lived in a van, like once you've done it before and you realize, like, this is what I'm afraid of, like this is what everyone's so terrified of. I love this. Yeah. Now you realize how much you don't need. And now let's think about his cost for financial independence just went down so much. So if he was making, I don't know, Let's see,
He's making good money.
He's probably making pretty good money if he saved up 20. He's probably making $60,000 a year because the first 6 months he's probably making about $60,000 a year. So at $60,000 a year, if he was spending all of that, he would need $1.5 million to call himself financially independent by the rule of the 4% rule.
Mm-hmm.
If he has lowered his cost of living to $20,000 a year, which currently it's around 8,000. So let's just add a little bit more just for cushion.
Mm-hmm.
So he lowers his cost of living down to $20,000 a year. He only needs $500,000 to quote unquote retire, which saves him $1 million of having to save in order to call himself financially independent. Now, again, life is going to change. I'm sure if you retire saying I only want to make $20,000 a year, that might sound well and good for right now, but $20,000 for the rest of your life might be difficult. But it's just kind of cool to show that you don't need as much as you think you do. And sometimes if you feel good about yourself when you're by yourself, you really don't need a lot. So many people buy and buy and buy, trying to fill up this hole inside themselves, thinking that this next thing will finally be the thing that'll make me feel happy. But I can show you that that's untrue. How many times in your life have you thought that the next thing I get is finally going to make me happy? And are you happy now? Yeah. The goalpost is constantly moving.
Yep.
It's the idea of the hedonic treadmill. Yep. You are on a treadmill of life.
Congratulations. I'm glad you're listening to the podcast. That means a lot to both Chris and I, and we're glad you're on a good
taking
path.
Action, bro.
Actually taking action. We love that.
Not the action I would take, but it is action, and I commend you for it. That's super kick-ass.
Yeah. I wish he would have told like what
car.
Kind of car. Yeah.
I want to know the car.
Yeah, I want to know the car. Like, because are we talking like, Subaru Outback, or are we talking like Sprinter van? Right. Sprinter van.
It could be worse. It could be like a Honda Civic or because an Outback's not a bad vehicle.
No, it's not. That's pretty solid. It's got some good room.
Yeah, that's because you can those seats fold all the way down. That'd be good.
But if you're rocking in like a 96 Corolla, I'm worried.
Yeah, me too.
I'm worried.
I just think it's cool that like the way he's looking at it is so cool, because there's other people like, I have to live in my car, my life's so tough, blah blah blah. And this guy's like, I get to rather than I don't have to. I get to live in my car.
Yep.
I get to live in it. And all it is that tiny reframe. And the end result's still the same. You're still living in your car. But one person is like lamenting their life and like, oh, nothing can change. The other person's like, bro, this is the greatest thing. I'm saving so much money, having so much fun.
Yep.
Like I get to realize how much I don't need in order to be happy. You know what? We're stopping the podcast. I'm going to go live in my car. Goodbye, everyone.
Dude, that truck, you can convert that. That thing would be nasty.
I've slept in the bed of my truck a few times, and it's been quite nice.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Get a nice like camper shell on that thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'd get a camper shell, because right now it has the backflip on it that like covers the tailgate, and I've slept just inside there, and it's warm enough to sleep inside there with the tailgate like propped open. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've slept in there. I've slept in there a few times.
Yeah, it's a nice truck. Yeah. What year is that truck?
2015.
2015. Is it Ford or Toyota?
Toyota.
Tacoma.
Yep.
Gotcha. VIN number? I'm just kidding.
VIN number? Registration?
License? Proof of insurance?
Social security number? Maiden name?
Okay. Well, thanks for writing into the Five Guys. We are very appreciative of it, and hope to see you again, and maybe in the comments. I mean, it doesn't seem like you need much help from us, but
in the comments, tell us what vehicle it is.
Yeah,
that's all I want to know. It's all I want to know. What vehicle is? That's all I want to know.
Please. So with that being said, we're going to get on to win of the week. I'm going to go first for win of the week. I recently, I got a new job recently. I'm about 3-4 weeks in, nothing too crazy. And I got this ability to promote, not currently, but in about 70 days, a couple months, I have the ability to promote, which is really great, right? I'm trying to increase my pay. It's one of the things I want to do. Who would say no to more money, right? But it comes with added responsibility and added time, right? I'd be working an extra day, right? So I'd have to commute an extra day. There'd be more responsibility. I'd have to open, I'd have to close, all this stuff. It would take up a Sunday. Contemplating, because obviously, like for me, I'm trying to make as much money as I can so that I can put a sizable down payment on a rental property and maybe out of state, or get myself into a fourplex down the line. So it's definitely something that I need to think about. But is it worth the extra day? That's what I need to know. So that's my win of the week. That's what I'm contemplating this week. Both good and bad. like we say, everything has ups, everything has downs, but you got to make the choice that's best for you.
Yeah. Congrats on getting or being able to
Mhm.
qualify for a promotion when you get there. I'm guessing you're doing really well, but like they can't promote you for
Yeah, because I'm
2 months or
yeah,
something like
yeah,
that. Yeah. Cause you're too
yeah,
new. You're still in that like probationary
yeah.
period. That means you're doing really, really well if they're already like, hey, when you get there, we're going to give it to you, given that you're still here.
Dude, honestly, like I was surprised because the day this was a couple days ago, and I swear I had like the worst day. I thought I was doing terrible. Like I messed up. I thought I messed
I
up.
was looting. I was looting
I
from the
took an
store.
iPad. No, no, no. No, like I thought I messed up an order like all day, and then like the last like hour and a half of like my day, I was like telling him about it. I'm like, so like, what did I do wrong about that? He's like, you didn't do anything wrong. I'm like, huh? He's like, no. He's gonna come back and get it. I'm like, oh really? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh okay. Well, I've been beating myself up for like that's like 3 hours. I'm like, that's pretty awesome. And then at the end of the day, he's like, hey, might have an opportunity for more pay. I'm like, okay. So yeah, that's my win of the week. What is your win of the week, Chris? What do you got for us?
So, as some of you may know, and if you listen to the podcast, you will know that I've always been someone who has prided himself on waking up super early in the morning at like 4 a.m. to get a jump on the day in order to be productive. Because in my head, I've created the narrative that by waking up and doing hard stuff, I am a good person for doing that. And it wasn't until I recently, and growing up, I was always told like you'll sleep when you're dead. Like sleeping isn't important. But the more and more I start to study sleep and understand, especially with the research done by Dr. Matt Walker on the importance of sleep, I realize how much I have destroyed my body by not sleeping.
Mm.
That's why I have these like awful bags under my eyes that are like, I think, permanent at this point now. So it's been very difficult for me to unlink in my head waking up early from not being a good person. We started basically my win of the week is I'm finally like sleeping 8 to 9 hours a night and like being comfortable waking up at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and just waking up when my body wants to wake up rather than forcing myself to wake up in order to be like a tough person, a hard person, someone that's worthy of good things in life.
Yeah.
I don't need to put myself through hell to be worthy of good things.
No.
So yeah, it was funny because you think it's like, oh yeah, it's so easy, just wake up later and you'll feel better. But like there was a mental block I had in my brain that's like, but if I wake up late, then I'm going to be a lazy person. If I'm a lazy person, then I'm an undeserving person. And there's this, it was a story. It was a story I was telling myself. And once I reframed the story to rather than having to wake up to be productive, I can be productive at any time. And the way to be most productive is to get a good night's sleep and not wake myself up at 4 a.m. for no reason. Because like I wasn't doing it for anyone. I didn't care. Like if other people saw like, oh, you wake up at 4, like I wasn't advertising it as a thing. But yeah, so I'm getting better and I'm getting more sleep and I'm actually feeling a lot better and like feeling more rested and
Good.
like I can take on the day without so much. I guess when you like don't sleep a lot, like you're always in like that fight or flight response.
Mhm.
Your adrenaline's always going, it's going higher because you haven't slept. So who knows how much time I've wasted in life because I had to wake up early to show myself that I was better than I was, even though no one was competing with me.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's like I used to wake up like really early too, and you attach your self-worth to it, like you're saying, like.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Chris isn't going to say it, but I'm going to say it as personal experience from my own life. When you wake up at 4 a.m, you wake up that early, you feel better than everybody else. Like, and I'm not talking about physically, like, oh, I wake up, I feel so rested. Like, no, you feel like crap. You don't feel good. But in the mind, you're like, I'm destroying everybody right now, destroying. And it's such like, it's almost like a drug. It's almost like, oh, wow, this is like, I have to have this over and over and over again. But there's, like there's takeaways in everything, right? Like you talked about like the like I never noticed the bags on your eyes, but you know, being in that fight or flight all day, like your adrenal glands, they're going to get tired. They're going to get drained. And it's one thing to be healthy for the mind. And it's another thing to be healthy for the body sometimes. And sometimes they're different things. And I think that's what's so interesting about it is like you did it for the mental aspect, for all of the things you got from it. But now you've evolved past self-worth and self-image, and you're going into a place of where it's like, I don't need to prove to myself that I'm a good person. I don't need to prove to myself that waking up at 4 a.m. is what defines me as a good person, as a productive person, as a successful person, as the person I want to be. It's like, no, I'm putting myself first and my future self first. rather than my ego first. And I think that just shows like the growth. It's just it's awesome to witness as someone who like admires you, obviously, and watching you grow.
I like the drug analogy because I think it really was when I was working my sales job and we would get in at 6 or 7 a.m. and like I would come into the office and everyone's kind of like rolling in tired. And like I rolled in and I was like, I've already worked out. I've meditated. I've listened to like 3 hours worth of podcasts in the last hour, or like no 4 hours worth of podcasts in the last hour. It would just make me feel better than everyone else, and that drove me really well. And I did very well in those jobs because of that. But I'm coming to a different point in my life where like I can't keep driving, and it was hard to kind of give up that drug, you know, and like to give up that drug if I'm better than everyone else. And now I have to switch to another thing because there's a old saying that you never get rid of a bad habit. You never get rid of an addiction. You just transmute it. It's the same thing in physics. You can't evaporate matter. You can only change it. Same thing with your life. You can't get rid of an addiction. You can't get rid of the things, your vices. You can only transmute them into something else, and hopefully something that's more positive. And while waking up at 4 a.m. it was positive on my life, it really was, and I would not take any of that back. But right now, the same question I always ask myself, is it still serving me? And when I look at it, the balance has skewed to it is no longer serving me because I'm getting older and I'm feeling more tired and my body, I physically can't do it anymore. Yeah. And getting past that was really difficult to be able to wake up at like 6 or 7 and not feel like I was a lazy piece of shit.
Yeah.
Because it was tough. There would be mornings I'd wake up and be like, what's the point of even getting out of bed? If I don't wake up at 4, what's the point of even getting out of bed? So if you're in that time, like, please feel free to reach out. Like, I'd be happy to talk with you and walk you through like what helped me, because it's tough. It's tough when your identity is wrapped up in something like that.
100%. I appreciate you sharing it. You know, you never had to, but you did.
Yep.
And I love that. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's we're growing, man. We're
growing because of the podcast, because so many people listen to the podcast and they love it. Yep. And we're getting better because we are the best.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's only one Fi Guys and we're it. You know, there's 8 billion people and we are the 2. That's us. The dynamic duo. You know, minus Cocaine Kenny. Our third wheel. He died. Dude, if we could get him on if anybody knows him and we could get him on the pod, that would be great.
I would. Yes, 1000%. Reach out, go to thefiveguys.com, go to feedback, just say, I am Cocaine Kenny. I will drop everything and I'll interview whatever time you want. Yep.
Or if you have a viewer mailbag you'd like to share, please. I'm willing to read a novel here on Friday's episodes. I'm willing.
Yeah, we've gotten some pretty long ones, which have been good.
Yeah, the more detail, the better.
You don't have to come up with the rhyme. I will come up with the rhyme.
Yep.
Well, ChatGPT will come up with the rhyme.
But you put it together. You miss and match. Yeah. Giving away all our secrets.
I know. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. If you have stuck around this long and you're not subscribed yet, I don't know what you're doing in life. So you have to subscribe because everyone else is doing it. And you really want to join that bandwagon, don't you? I know you do. Yep. So do it. It makes you a good person because we need you to do it or we're going to quit at this job and everyone wants more of us. So please subscribe to the show. Most importantly, tell a friend about the Fi Guys. Bring someone along for this journey because it'll help you to go down this journey, because there's an old Nigerian proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And the journey of financial independence, if you try to go fast, you will often ruin yourself and not make it. This is a long journey. So go with somebody so you guys can go together and build off of each other. Dominic, do you have anything else to share before we close off?
No. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend, amazing week ahead of you. And stay happy, stay healthy, drink lots of water, make great choices, and try and question everything. Try and see the opposite side of everything. Try and be an objective third party and ask yourself, is the viewpoint or the thing I'm doing serving me? It's one of the most powerful things, one of the most powerful questions you can ask, right? Is this relationship serving me? Is this food serving me? Is this job serving me? Is the choices I'm making in life serving me? I hope that helps you, and I hope you win the battles you don't tell anybody about. So with that being said, I hope you guys have an amazing week, and we'll see you on Monday. Later, guys.
Later.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.